Hello, welcome everyone to our episode 9. This is the last episode in our Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Ninja training, the fundamentals. Don't forget to use the Ask a Question during the show. You can find it on the right side up here. You can also check the box for asking a question anonymous. Don't forget to look at our page, aka.ms/ninja show. Check out either previous shows or some of our bonus content, as well as you can use Share Your Voice to please provide us feedback, how you like the show. If you have other questions, please use that function. My name is Heike and I'm your host again. And today I am joined by Jake, and it's all about reporting. Jake, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Heike. Appreciate it. My name is Jake Mowrer. I'm a principal program manager here at Microsoft, working with Microsoft 365 Defender. So thanks for having me on the show. I know everybody's pumped up about reporting today.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jake, for being my expert on today's show. So first of all, I think we are going to look into all the out-of-the-box reports that are already ready to go, ready to look at within the portal. And then we also want to have a look at creating our own reports for some other needs that we might have that are not covered by the out-of-the-box reports. And this is hopefully going to be a heavy demo session. Jake, where do you want to take us first?
Yeah, so let's just kind of set the stage real quick about what we're going to talk about when we say reporting, right? Because when it comes to reports, a lot of different companies have a lot of different needs in terms of what reporting they need, right? Some of them, they need detailed reports for compliance reasons. Their auditors want to see things like, hey, what does your antivirus coverage look like? And how many incidents or alerts you have that you are acknowledging, and then which ones are sitting idle and what's your dwell time for that. So lots of detail reporting, or you may just need like a dashboard to put up on a TV screen in your security operations center, or maybe you just need to put out some fancy reports for your upper management to show them what these security tools are actually doing for them. So I'm going to take you basically through. We'll start out in the portal and talk about the different cards that show kind of a high level overview. And then we'll go through the different reports that are available inside the product, pivoting on especially on devices and email and collaboration. Because as you know, with Microsoft 365 Defender, all of our threat protection products have come under one roof to give us that strong XDR.
I love it. Let's go in the demo.
All right, let's go into the demo. Cool. So right now I'm in the Microsoft 365 Defender portal, security.microsoft.com. And when you land on this initial page, you're going to get these cards, right? And the cards are really good at giving you a quick snapshot across what's happening from a threat perspective in your environment across identity, data, devices, apps. So where we're going to go from here is, you can go on these cards and kind of click into these things. But today we're going to talk about reporting, which is found right here down on this left-hand menu bar. So I'm going to click on reports, and it's going to change the main window here to the report list. And one quick tip, because I'm kind of picky about my screen real estate, I'm going to click this little hamburger icon here and minimize the actual menu on the left so that I can use all the real estate on my screen to actually look at these reports.
I don't think we have heard that trick yet, so thanks.
I'm picky about my screen content, like I'm a bit of a freak about that. So I gotta do what I gotta do there. So if you look at these different reports listings here, you'll see that they're broken out. One's kind of a general section where there's one report, and that's really looking at all of the different pillars that I talked about before, which is like identity, data, devices, and apps. That's a report that pivots on those axes. The sections underneath these, specifically for like endpoints, this is showing all the things that are happening on the devices. And when I say devices, it can be Windows devices, it can be Macs, it can be Linux, it can also be Android, iOS. So it's not just your typical Windows 10, Windows 11 workstations. And then down here, we've got the email and collaboration reports. So the folks that care about things like email latency or threats detected and blocked inside email, URL clicks, things like that are in that reporting section there. So why don't we dive into the specific reports, specifically under endpoints. This one, again, is just kind of an overview report. So I want to get into the nitty gritty details of what's going on in my environment. So let's start with threat protection. And you'll notice when I click on threat protection, the nice thing about the portal is it's creating a breadcrumb trail up here so that I don't have to use my back button or anything like that. I can just click reports and be back in there. Of course, you can also control click on it and open up a new tab as well. So the reporting layout across all of these reports is pretty similar. On the left side, we're going to be showing you a lot of graph intensive things to show you trends across what's happening. So in this case, I'm looking at the alert trends and I'm trying to figure out, where are the blips in activity? Is it pretty sustained over time? And also, what kind of alerts am I getting as well? So if I zoom in here a little bit, you'll notice that we have something called detection source. Now, remember, because we're dealing with Microsoft 365 Defender, we're bringing in all those threat protection products together. So these could be threats, alerts that are based on threats coming through email, from devices, and things like that. So it's important for us to show exactly what technology actually detected it. And we also have the awesome Microsoft threat experts as well. So our hunters are actually throwing in alerts into the portal as well and watching our back for us because we opted into that service. But I can see here, just by looking at the data here, I can see that I had some EDR spikes. And what's great about this is if I kind of zoom out for a minute and I hover over, you'll notice that these spikes kind of, if I hover over them, they'll give me kind of the date. And they'll also give me the detection source here. So you can see on April 25th, I had a huge spike of EDR events. So these are post-breach events, meaning that they are detections that occurred that weren't necessarily stopped, but it's malicious behavior that we need to pay attention to. And then I had 4 antivirus alerts. So these are things like malware or spyware that got on people's machines that were mitigated.
May I ask a question? So are these alerts that are not resolved, or would the alerts also be counted if you have an alert and our automation kicks in and does the investigation, remediation, and resolves the alert? So this is the number of, in general, alerts that have been raised, created, or are they somehow filtered?
Yeah, so this is all up alerts. Down a little bit further, we'll actually see which ones are still new or outstanding, and then also which ones have been acted upon and resolved by automation, et cetera. So this is just kind of giving you a trend of all the alerts that are happening in the environment. So, and also it's giving me a 30-day view. So this is important to kind of point out too. So you can actually select the time range that you want in these reports. So by default, it's showing me 30 days, but I can go back 3 months, 6 months, or even give a custom range. So if there was a specific point in time, maybe on that 25th and 26th, I wanted to kind of zoom in a little bit further to really call that data out, I can do that there.
Yeah, or if you want to create your, I mean, this is monthly, right? So I
Yep.
guess a lot of reports are being created on a monthly basis for reporting out.
Yep.
So this is the standard here, which is already
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
30 days feels like default to me, right? Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So now we're kind of double clicking down a little bit here on the alerts that are coming in. Based on those alerts, what tactic type or what really threat category is this alert really about? So if I zoom in here, you can actually see the different kinds of threat categories involved here. So something like credential access, that would be an alert that is tied to a bad actor trying to harvest credentials or username and password off devices. Privilege escalation. It's when an attacker is trying to go from a standard user up to a higher privileged user, even system in some cases. And then, the one that definitely gets chills down the spines of most SecOps teams and CISOs all around, and even CFOs, is ransomware, right? So we point that out as well.
And are these MITRE categories, or is this not related to it? This is different categories.
Yeah, these are our categories, but they definitely, like if you were to click into the alert themselves, we definitely map these to the MITRE attack framework TTPs. So yeah, you can see again, on that 25th that we saw before, I've got a lot of activity happening here. And so if you recall, it was a lot of EDR activity before when we took a look at that. And sure enough, like these types of detections here are actually all in the EDR space, except for malware, of course. But you can see lots of discovery happening. So the attacker is essentially trying to figure out, like, basically take a look around, like, hey, what user account am I running in? What rights do I have? What groups am I a member of, and what access does those groups have, and things like that. So this is breaking it down essentially by what the attacker was really trying to do in that stage of the attack, and that alert fired on in reference to that attack.
Sniffing around, snooping around.
Yeah, discovery. Yeah, absolutely. Got to get a lay of the land, right? Cool. And then now we're breaking it out by the 4 severity types that we have. So we have high, medium, low, and informational. So again, on the 25th, it looks like the breakdown that I have is mainly low events. So low severity events indicate that it's not a mass wide ring the fire alarm type of issue at this point. It's really more about, hey, this is the initial stages of the attack that I need to check out. And then here's that. Now we're getting into that question you kind of asked before, which is, are these all new alerts or outstanding alerts, or what's the deal with these? And so this next one shows us the alerts by creation date and their status. So an alert can be either new or resolved in our case, but there's other statuses as well, like assigned to a SecOps admin or something of that nature. In our environment specifically, they all show new. And that's because, like a lot of large organizations, this tenant specifically is plumbing out those alerts through our APIs into their SIM. And that SIM is being used to actually do the incident management work instead of actually doing it inside the portal. The nice thing is, though, is that the project that this company actually has going on right now, Contoso has going on, is that they're going to actually take their SIM and call back into Defender and start tagging these and resolving them in the portal as well, just to clean the portal up and also to give us signal on what alerts are being acted upon, etc.
To me, it looks like the alerts were new, and just a little later, they were auto-resolved by our automation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, yeah, by default, our automation, if it takes care of it, it's going to resolve the alert anyway. So yeah, it looks like auto remediation is definitely coming in handy here. And so these are the classifications. And so these are manually classified by the security operators. As you can see here, we've got a spike. Let's just kind of hover over and take a look. But when alerts fire, let's say that your security team is doing some testing. So your red team is going after the environment, or maybe you're just doing an evaluation of our protection stack like a lot of companies do. You can actually go inside the portal and not just resolve the alert, but also indicate if the alert was either a TP, true positive, or a FP, false positive. And then you can take it a step further and categorize the alert by saying, hey, yeah, this was just security personnel. Or you can say, yeah, no, this was a true positive and it was actually a compromised account. So all this reporting is basically around the metrics and the trends of the alerts that are firing in our environment.
Cool. So, and then I see you're scrolling. There's alert status. Is again detection, unresolved alerts. We have again a different view of the categories, not the spikes. So now it's basically the same data, but in a different view.
Yeah, so this is just giving you the aggregate views of a single day, right? So in this case, I'm zoomed in to Wednesday, May 11th. And so for that day, these are the total amounts that occurred in the environment for the alerts.
Ah, okay. See, I didn't even notice that. Cool. Okay, this is the threat protection report, Jake. You mentioned, or we saw there is a lot of different reports. Is there any other one that you would like to walk us through and highlight a few of those cards?
Yeah, absolutely. So these are all the alerts that are happening in the environment today. But what about how am I doing about when it comes to preventing these alerts, right? How am I protecting the environment and really keeping it safe? So yeah, so something to kind of look at here is vulnerable devices. So, Defender for Endpoint, excellent product. It's collecting vulnerability data as well as EDR data, et cetera. And, no agent, it's collecting that data via EDR, and then it's analyzing it for vulnerabilities based on the software that's on the device. So let's take a look at what vulnerable devices exist in my environment, because this is really where the risk is, right? This is the type of stuff that leads to alerts. So again, we talked about it before. On the left, we got trends. On the right, we have status, which is a snapshot in time. So here, it looks like I'm going the right way, right? It looks like on
For a
the
little
11th,
while, and then you're taking it back on.
which yeah, and unfortunately, that's the nature of our work, right? Is that
It's Patch Tuesday.
just when we thought we were patched, they pull us back in, right? So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it looks like we had a kind of a spike of critical. There was probably a critical vulnerability released, but we were doing great. We were patching and patching and patching. But yeah, it looks like another one came in, or maybe we onboarded a bunch of systems that weren't patched or something, right?
Yeah.
But that's the beauty about this is that let's say you brought on a bunch of devices that weren't patched. In this case, if we didn't have this data, we have no idea, right? But the trend data that shows us how we're trending in this environment makes us say, oh, I need to take a look at that because something is not quite right.
Okay, Jake. So this is awesome. And talking about trends, I think it's super important sometimes to report out to CISOs, CXOs about return of investment, how our security solutions making the secure score higher, getting the risk score lower, and kind of reports for that level. What do we have there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've got a session on TVM that I think really addresses that. It really shows that there's a dashboard in TVM specifically that shows your overall exposure and also the risk too, so that you can understand, not just what devices aren't patched, but also laying in risk over the top of that so that it's like, okay, they're not patched, but really how vulnerable or what is the risk of that not being patched? Is
Mm-hmm.
it an exploit that's being exploited in the wild? Is it being put into exploit kits so that anybody can run it? Is it being commoditized like that? So TVM really has a great dashboard and report for this specifically.
Yeah, and this was episode number 3. So with Mark, so if someone wants to go back and check it out. What other reports do we have in the report section that can be shown to a CISO level, CXO level type of person?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of there's really two reports. Maybe one may not be for the CISO, but I think it's going to get a lot of Windows security type people excited. But there's also one that may come in handy too, and that's web protection. Because one thing that I think it's an unsung hero, if you will, of Defender for Endpoint is really the web protection piece that allows you to do category based blocking even when a machine is off your network without having to back channel it through your VPN into your proxies. So why don't we take a look at that real quick? So let me show you first the one that I think that's going to get the Windows security folks pretty excited, and that's the firewall report. So firewall reporting, I'm an old guy, so I remember firewall reporting really being just about text files that you can drop on on a machine and then harvesting and parsing them out. But this report is actually showing me firewall blocks on the individual machines, and again, it's breaking it out by day. And I can click in here and actually see the individual blocks, or I can pivot over to advanced hunting and see specifics about those blocks as well. Let's say you've got a pilot group or something like that because you don't have firewall deployed in your environment, but you have a pilot group with it turned on. Now you have a central place where you can actually track those blocked connections. So that one I like, is it's kind of geeky. I go back to reports and I go to web protection. Again, this is one that I think, CISOs will probably want to know, which is when machines are off the network or people are traveling and things like that, are they trying to use their machine for, surfing not appropriate sites or going to risky sites that might get malware on their machine? CISOs are definitely thinking about that because a machine being controlled by the IT environment is one thing, but a machine that's infected, but it's still controlled, we don't want to let that thing kind of back on the network, right? That machine back on the network. So this report shows me essentially from the web protection policies or web filtering policies that I've deployed in my environment. This report will actually show me the browsing categories that are being blocked based on the policies that I have in place. Or you can set no policies. You can just turn this on, and it'll just show you the basic information of what categories people are surfing. So in this case, not a lot of machines happening in this environment for Contoso. It's a small company, but as you can see, there was definitely some legal liability type pages being taken a look at. and then also high bandwidth type sites. So maybe they were downloading a bunch of stuff or something like that. But mainly it's leisure, right? And that's maybe to be expected. Maybe there's a lot of traveling salespeople at Contoso, and they've got some time in hotel rooms. And they're checking stuff out.
Is it like Bitcoin mining belongs to leisure?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, that'd be a good question. Yeah, but we can we can click into details and get some more information here. So for example, like this is what's kind of nice from the reports. I didn't really show this before, but from the reports, you can usually pivot down into the specific details. And this one in particular, you got to be a little bit careful with. I didn't see any adult content ones in there, but let's take a look at the leisure stuff. So we saw the illegal software. Yeah, it looks like there was one of those. So I can maybe just go into illegal software and take a look at what it was. And yeah, it looks like Workstation 20 went to the Tor project. So that's indicative of somebody trying to download a browser to try to surf anonymously on the internet. While that's okay, outside of work, that's not something we want happening on our enterprise machines.
Yeah, makes sense. So back to the reports and my question from earlier. So can we have a look at that report that says device health, compliance, and that sounds to me like a pretty interesting report. What's in there?
Yeah, your only protection, detection, response is really only as good as the health state of your endpoints, right? If you've got a bunch of machines that are paired communication or no sensor data, meaning you've got some of the URLs that we require blocked either at the firewall or at the local machine, you're not getting data from those machines or not getting full data, and that's a risk. So again, on the left, it shows trends. So what I'm really looking for in a report like this is I'm looking for anything that's just kind of out of the ordinary. In my case, if I look back all the way through the beginning of April, you can see I usually have a pretty consistent number of inactive machines, right? And then my active machine stays pretty consistent too. If I were to see something like, and then I don't see any impaired communications or no sensor data.
And inactive devices, I just to clarify, this is our demo environment. So these machines are just not there anymore. And that's why they're inactive.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also could be that Contoso specifically does a lot of R&D, right? So they spin up a ton of different machines and then they spin them down, after a day or something like that. So they're going to have a lot of machine objects kind of churning in and out. But yeah, what I'm really looking for here, though, is major trends, right? So if I see a spike in no sensor data or a spike in impaired communications, that might be a change that maybe happened on the firewall, because everybody likes to blame the firewall people. It may have been a firewall issue where they accidentally blocked one of our URLs and we're not getting sensor data. And we need to be able to know that because the overall health of our agents is important to get our data.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so I think that gave us a really good overview of what kind of information are being presented in those reports, and there is many more. And I'm just asking the audience to click through them themselves to learn more about all the other reports. But another important part is if I need a different report, if I want
Yeah.
to combine different data to give me something more unique, maybe to my environment. Or to my needs, sorry, it's all in your environment. What other options do we have to basically create a custom report, Jake?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's super important because, you don't want to just leave this portal up on a screen logged in as a generic user, so somebody can like walk up and look at alerts and stuff, right? That's not a good idea. And also, typically it's not something that you want to give access to like a CISO or something like that. They may just want the high level information. So how do you do that? All these reports that we've been showing are all in the portal. The great thing is, though, the underlying data is actually available through APIs and also advanced hunting. And it's super easy to tap into those APIs and advanced hunting with something like Power BI to create your own reports. Now, general disclaimer, I'm not a Power BI expert, so you're going to see some fumbling around here. And if I need a report, I call my good friend Andrea Fisher and I beg her for a report. So she's helped me quite a bit in that regard. So why don't we change over to Power BI and just kind of take a look at a very simple report, which is really the only thing I'm capable of doing.
Thank you.
Awesome. So this is Power BI, right? Again, Totally not a Power BI guru here, but I was able pretty quickly to put together this custom report that I was asked for. So basically, the ask was, "Hey Jake, break out all the alerts that we've seen in our environment by severity by month." That was basically the ask. And so the first thing that you have to do is you have to go in and we have some documentation on our doc site on how to set up the appropriate Azure Active Directory applications to allow the proper access into your tenant, into your Defender for Endpoint instance, so that you can pull out the right data for your reporting. So make sure to check out the docs on how to set that up. And so once you set that up, when you open Power BI, what you're going to do is add a data source. And so I've already done that, and I've added the data source for Microsoft 365 Defender incidents, because for us, I wanted to kind of see the different severity of incidents and alerts that occurred in my environment. So once I connected to that API, basically I got my fields all over here. So these are all the different fields that you see in a typical alert object type. So assigned to, who is the security operator that's working on it? The classification, which we talked about before, where you can say, hey, this was just security personnel testing alerts.
This could be an interesting report, right? Saying like, okay, those are all our alerts and they're assigned to, and you can see someone is maybe having like they have too many alerts in their queue and others they don't, but then maybe the severity here is just low and they're like handling 30 low and
That's
then
right.
one has like too high. Like, yeah, great view. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, you can detect the sandbaggers. Yeah, especially me. I'm taking all the low ones. Absolutely. All the informational ones that are already resolved. I'm taking those. Yeah. So we have the different things here. So essentially, all it is to do this is you drag in. Let me just expand my filters and my visualizations. There we go.
Wow.
Yeah, and it could be a little bit overwhelming, right? So when you're looking at this, try not to freak out. But essentially, yeah, in this here, I added the severity of it here, and oh, actually, yeah, it populated here. So you can see on the x-axis here. Let me zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. So on the x-axis, I just said, hey, give me the created time for the alert. So this is when the actual alert fired. And then on the y-axis, show me the severity, and then show me a quick legend based on the severity. And so that's what gave me this chart right up here.
And you were just saying you're not a Power BI geek, but that made you pretty proud, right?
I was pretty impressed with myself. Yeah, yeah. I definitely got some ice cream. Yeah, for sure on that one. So yeah, and so another one was, hey, tell me, out of all those alerts that fired, how were they classified? Were they false positives, true positives, or what's the deal there? So in this case, I just created a quick donut graph here. I don't know if that's the technical term for it, but that's what I'm rolling with here.
I thought it was a
Let's see.
cake.
I might be a cake. Oh no, it's donut chart. Check
See?
me out.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Oh,
yeah,
the
yeah,
cake is the cake is probably still has something in the middle, so it's really like
yeah, yeah. Unless you got a discount. Yeah. So the donut chart, yeah, it is called a donut chart. Check me out. And yeah, same kind of thing here. The values in the donut chart, we're going to do the count of classification types, or so counting up how many of different classification type, because I don't really care about time. I more care about the types of alerts and the classifications of those. And then I just add a quick legend, and boom, I got a donut chart. So you can take this report and you can send it to somebody. You can share it out in your corporate portal. You can do any of those things. And the great thing is that now you have a report that you can share with your upper management, CISO, et cetera, so that they can see these counts without having to log into the portal. And as you can see, it's super easy. But you can go, if you're really good at Power BI, unlike me, and you can do more advanced things, you may want to say like, hey, what is the dwell time of incidents before it goes from a new alert to assigned to somebody? Essentially, those are all things that you can do in Power BI.
wow. Yeah, I think definitely worth for everyone to check it out. You can either do some simple donut circles or go a little bit more sophisticated. Jake, thank you so much. So we talked about the built-in out-of-the-box reports. There's already a lot of reports for different areas in there with like trends, as well as zoom in for the individual days. And then you can use Power BI, our APIs, to create your own reports. And everybody who knows APIs can probably think about other ideas of pulling data out. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we are closing the show, based like regarding reports?
Yeah, I think the big thing is if you want to see a report and we don't have it, use the feedback button in the portal to send in those suggestions, because we do read those and we do take those seriously and review them and try to put them in our backlog. So if you see a report or you have an idea for a report or something like that, send us that feedback.
That's actually a great suggestion. Thank you very much. So, Jake, thank you so much for being my expert today on this last fundamental show. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks everyone for watching. I hope everyone went with us from episode 1 to episode 9. If not, go back to aka.ms/ninja show and check out the recordings of the previous shows. Please don't forget to send us your feedback. It's on the same page. There is share your voice. I'd love to hear how you like the show. I love to hear feedback. Everything that you would like to tell me, the experts, or our team is welcome through that button. So this again was for now the last episode, and stay tuned when we continue with the Ninja Show and go a little bit deeper into the content. Thanks everyone, and hopefully see you soon.